I think we're live. I'm still trying to figure out this whole setup working. So please hit me up in the chat. Let me know that you could hear me, that the music is not too loud, that my microphone works, I guess. But welcome to Coffee Code and Chat. And today we're going to talk about learn in public. You know, I think it's a very important concept. And this idea of how you could get to where you want to go faster, right? And so there's many strategies of getting out there, and there's a lot of good strategies to get out there. But today we're going to talk about this idea of learn in public. Obviously, I didn't make it up, and you probably know what that is referring to, but it's being open, being part of communities when you're building projects yourself, sharing them with other people on social media and having a conversation around it. But we're going to talk about it in more detail. But I'm also going to bring on a good friend of mine. I'm glad he reached out to me this morning. I actually haven't chatted with him in a while. Mark Telles, amazing dude. And so we're going to bring him on in a couple of minutes once I get my bearings. But let's see, is the audio sounds good? Thank you, Jose. And let me quickly do a little Twitter share to be like, hey, this is what's happening. We're live. We're doing a thing. And it's going to be great. I say that every podcast. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes they are awesome. And sometimes they're really awesome. And so today we're going to talk about learning public. So let me just send out a quick Twitter, share the love. And if you like to Twitter the show, to share it with other unsuspected dissidents, why not? You know, the more the merrier. Have a great conversation. So, love Twitter. Yeah, let's go on Twitter. What's happening? I am live. And I'm going to say, going to maybe have a special guest. Live. Learn in public. And I'm going to say surprise guest. Surprise guest. But then I'm also going to tag him, the surprise guest that we're having on Twitter, so it's not a surprise. So, and okay, so I'm just sending this tweet. I can't type to save my life. Okay, tweet saved. And then let's see, what else happening? What's happening here? Let me check out here. Let me just send this invite. All right. So what's been happening? I hope everybody's doing awesome. I miss all of you. Thank you for being super supportive through my thing that I've been going on. I'm not going to talk about it much this stream because I think we talked about it enough. Like the life changes, the things that happen, it's all good. It's all good. So today we're going to talk about learning in public. What is it? Like, or code in public, build in public. It has many references. And also, I sent an invite to our special guest, so whenever he's ready, he can jump on. But let me look at the comments section here. Say, show the love to everybody, because everybody's super awesome. You know, where did my comments go? Like, I am so disorganized with my stream setup right now. It's pretty intense. I'm like, first of all, the screens that like I want to see, like I'm like, where did they go? Here they are. I found it. It didn't go anywhere. So again, we're going to talk mic volume drop. Is it too low, too high? Tell me how it sounds now. I think that's before blowing out the speakers. Maybe this is better. Thank you, Brian. I'm glad to have you listening. So let me say quick hellos. We had Mark jumping in. Maybe he's the surprise guest. Maybe. Dude's awesome, by the way. And Sharon, what's up? Good to see you. Jose, hey, how are you? Brian, of course, thank you. Raul says, hey everyone, yes, it's too low. Is it still low? That's what I want to know. Like, let me yell more. my poor neighbors. Okay, Raul says it's better. So I'm happy. It's better. Everything's better. Everything's good. And so we're going to talk about learning public. And I'm just, I sent an invite to our super special guest. So whenever he's ready, he can jump in and join us. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about this topic, this idea, coding in public, building in public. And QSETT, hello. And thank you, Brian. The volume is good. And this idea of learning about, so there's many paths to get into web development. One of the paths is a good path. You know, if I was younger, I would totally do it. Is go back and get a computer science degree. I think it's important. I still want to study computer science topics, but learning in public is very important. But let's, I have Mark joining us, so I'm just going to bring him in right away. Why? Because Mark is awesome. And how are you, Mark? Oh man, like, I don't know if you sound on mute. That's my fault. Hey, Mark, say hello again.
What about now? Do you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's totally my fault. Man, how you been? How you been? Good to see you. Looking good. Looking sharp.
I've been busy.
Yeah. Nice.
Hey,
so,
is it okay if I take a barn snap?
Do a what?
A barn snap?
I don't know what that is.
I'll do it off camera.
I'm like,
I just woke up and I saw your notification, so I jumped right on, but I haven't.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we tried to keep it whatever. But yeah, so we're going to talk about like cool stuff like coding in public. But the basic idea here that I want to say is that very important is that if you don't have certain credentials, to be honestly, standing out might not be as easy as you want. And so engaging in the community, being part of it, doing stuff publicly, being vocal about it is super important. And this idea of networking. And so if you're having a hard time, you know, a network, if you're having a hard time building relationships that could lead to jobs, maybe you should be more open about what you're doing, what you're learning. And this has been the case for me with this YouTube channel that's been amazingly helpful. So what are your thoughts, Mark, about learning in public, building in public? Because some people, they're afraid to do it. But we could talk more about it too later.
Well, here's the thing. Like, everybody wants to look like they're better than they are at everything that they do because they're trying to present themselves in a job market to where, like, you can't get a job being like, well, I'm not as good as the next guy, right? So people, it's strange. People seem to not be afraid to get filmed drunk, half naked with shit written all over them while they're passed out, right? And have it up on YouTube. And it's like the things that people do on social media they don't even think about, but they're deathly afraid of coding in public, right? They're afraid of having a video out on the internet when they sucked because they're like, well, people see that and think that I suck. But the thing is that you don't get good at coding in public. You don't get good at coding in front of another person, like say a tech interviewer or a client or anybody, or maybe a nerdy girl you want to impress. Like, you don't get that unless you do it. And the stars are correct. There's no bad publicity. All publicity is good. So having your name out there, even if it looks like maybe you're not a master at your craft yet, but you're a junior programmer, so that sort of makes sense. It's all advertising. It's all publicity. I would say, even if like you're brand new to programming, you should still start a YouTube channel. You should start a YouTube channel and you should bring on mentors to teach you for free because now they're on your YouTube channel. And then you should do that every single, a couple times a week and make it a series so that other people don't just see people who are really good at programming on YouTube, because it gives them something to reach for, right? But it can also kind of bring them down because they're like, fuck, I'm never going to write code that clean. But if they're seeing people like this on, right, then they'll be like, oh, the struggle is real. It's not just me. This shit's hard.
Yeah, but what's crazy, some of these people that code in public, they're doing it in public, but they already maybe troubleshooted, got all the bugs out. So they're basically copying and pasting something like off screen that they have. I'm not saying everybody does it, And so you get this impression that everybody's like this 10x developer that could do whatever they want. And there are some people like that, but in majority cases, people do make mistakes. And that's actually perfect learning opportunity. And that's exactly like one of the reasons why I started this channel, is to kind of force myself to put myself in public and code. And interesting thing happens, like as long as you don't pretend to be the expert that you're not, you're going to be okay. Like for instance, I remember I was working on something, and I know you've jumped a bunch of times in my stream. Some other people jump in and literally help me troubleshoot the thing that I'm stuck. So when you code in public, you're putting yourself out there, but you're also getting access to more brains than yours, right? If you just do everything by yourself and you're like, oh no, and you don't share it with anybody, you're not gonna
cloud computing.
Right, exactly. That's basically what you're doing, and that is impressive. And so, by the way,
and also you can't rely on a network that you haven't built yet. And so you have to build the network. And in order to build the network, you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually going to say, like you said, making a video channel. I know you also do blogs. And I think blogging is very important. And I think it's a good way to kind of also keep notes for yourself of like the cool things that you learn. So this is something that I'm starting to do more of. And it's been like really helpful.
Also,
and then
it is just much more searchable.
Yes,
right?
100%
so like
true.
Your information disseminated on Google, which is the homepage of the world, of the internet, you got to put it in text format.
No, 100%. So what I started to do is I started to take my notes in this thing called Obsidian. When I learn something new or whatever, I do it in Markdown. And when you take notes of Markdown, you're pretty much like halfway done with a blog post. If you think about it, you just write a little intro, you write a little, and then you could share it on your social media. And I was going to say, like, coming back to your point, a lot of people are afraid of learning in public is because they feel that people are going to see that they don't know enough, or they're going to see that it's like, oh, I suck at this and I'm just starting out. But the truth is,
but
it's
that
better.
Would be true if it was just a single person who doesn't know what they're doing coding live on YouTube. That would be true.
What are you trying
because
to say?
there's the learning process of learning in an isolation. Even if you got an audience, right? You got a whole bunch of people watching you. If they're not participating with you and helping you debug and solve and come up with new patterns and better utilities, you will progress very, very slowly. But if you bring on other people who are even a month more advanced than you, even a year more advanced than you, then what you have is you have a video that doesn't showcase how dumb you are. It has a video that's showcasing how you're rapidly improving how good you are using outside resources.
Yeah.
And employers love that kind of shit because it means you're the kind of person that's not going to wait around for the company to pay for your education. You're going to constantly be improving yourself, which means you're an asset that's constantly improving.
That's 100%. And what I've noticed for being in the space for a little bit on YouTube and some Twitter, and I've seen people that literally got hired because they're vocal on Twitter or have a YouTube channel, because it allows people to kind of sift through, like, because they already see like this person is committed, they're really doing their best. They also have the history of all the improvement they made and stuff like that, and so they kind of know what they're getting. And so if you're struggling to get hired, to get jobs, there's like, I would recommend doing blogging for sure. One of the reasons I also recently started blogging, because now like I have a full-time job and it's remote first. It's like 100% remote. So the biggest thing with remote first companies is that you have to document a lot of stuff that you're doing. So we use Notion, what have you. So you still need to have some sort of ability to write, to be able to capture what you're doing, talk about it. And so since you're going to be spending time writing at your work, especially if you're working remote, like doing a blog is literally a way for you to practice
work.
Yes.
Right? Because you're doing the work one time no matter what.
Yes.
But now you can use that work in two different applications. So you're really getting like a double benefit. I would say it's just like, remember math class that we all hated? Well, unless you're a weirdo and you love math, and then you probably loved it. And the teacher was like, show your work.
Yes.
That's remote work these days. If you don't show your work, if you don't have a process and you don't have the artifacts documented of the shit that you do, don't be surprised if you don't get fired. Even if the company can outwardly see that you're producing every day.
They
still don't know if it's yours, because when you're on remote work, suddenly everyone's disconnected, and nobody knows whose work is actually showing up on the website. It just happens.
Yeah. And it's 100% true. And also like this idea of writing, like if you write blog posts, there's a lot of different like companies that do certain things where you could actually submit articles, and you could, in Strappy's case, you could actually get paid for it. And what's awesome about it is that that's another way for you to showcase experience by being like, hey, I published this article. This is where it was posted. I did this, I did that. And that's a good way to start to build your reputation and get out there. And I'll give you another example. One of the things that I have to do, like at my new role at my job, is actually to go to conferences. And part of that is like, building a reputation in giving talks. And so maybe I might not get the biggest conference from the start, but it's like you start slow, you start doing meetup, you publicly get out there, you do talks, you learn as you go, and then you build that reputation. So when people see you visibly working, you start to build this reputation. This is one thing that like I love Twitter, but some of the things I hate about Twitter is that this nonsensical tweets where people just ask these questions that really don't solve a thing, but everybody engages.
Trying to hack the algorithm.
Right, and I get that.
Same thing. It's the same reason why the programmers on YouTube edit all of the debugging and mistakes out, because you have to in order to get anywhere on the YouTube algorithm, which is like I'm sitting at 12,000, 14,000, 14,000, I think.
Yeah.
And it's taken forever to get there, but I've realized the reason why is because my videos were not built for a YouTube audience.
Yes.
They were built for like a Coursera audience.
Yes.
Which YouTube is not. And Twitter's the same way. My Twitter following is extremely small because I don't post inane fucking questions all day just to generate a whole bunch of people that are like, oh, cookie.
Yeah,
and they just keep taking the cookie. So
but,
it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
You got to determine, is it the number of followers that your tweets are getting that's important? Is it the number of subscribers that your views are getting are important? And in a way, even if you don't care about popularity, it is, because if you have good information that you're trying to get out to the world, or if you're trying to get your name out into the world, if you don't grow, you get your name out to less people can benefit from your thing. So even if you're one of those people like me that's like, I don't want to bow to an algorithm and hack people's whatever behaviors in order to grow my channel, I just want to give the best information, you're still better to break it down into that YouTube format and deliver it as a YouTube format, because you can reach more people, then you can build your bigger network, you can help more people, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's finding a fine balance, and I refuse to go to the extremes of that. I still see the value of getting, but I think like you still have to provide value even to a smaller level. You might get but you might get the people that actually care about the things that you're doing. So there's definitely a double-edged sword. We do have like a great question from Jose. So he was.
By the way, I'm not looking at the web chat anymore because
I'll put him.
The audio is different.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll put it up here and I'll read it. He said, so what are the baby steps to eventually learn in public? I used to do 100 days of code on Twitter. So what I would say, I'll give my first opinion because this is something I've been working on, is when you're learning something cool and you run into a thing, take some notes, write a post about it, and then go on Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you are, and share hey, I ran into this problem. This is how I solved it. Tag your article in it, and also tag the company which stack you're using. If it's React, tag React. If it's Next.js, tag Next.js, and just kind of add value. Don't ask for anything, and just post like that. I would say that would be like the baby step of kind of getting it out there. And you'd be surprised, and I could talk more about it, some of the connections I made just using that strategy. And Mark, for you, what do you think would be another
I
good
would
step?
say use Twitter or whatever platform you have available to you that has a large tech following, and just find other programmers who work in the same technologies as you, or a technology that complements you, right? So maybe there's somebody out there who's just getting into game design and they create sprites for characters, and you are a React programmer, but you'd really like to make games. But you can't make a game without the assets. So you connect to that person so that when it's time to make a cool little game or an NFT game or whatever it is that becomes the great next idea, you have somebody to work with, and then work with them, start nurturing that relationship. And for programming, just find other people that do the same kind of coding you do. Don't worry about what level they're at, and then just agree to work on a project together using like GitHub pull requests, so that you're using the same process that you would be using at a company. So you're reinforcing those skills and building a network at the same time.
Yeah, and what's cool, it's like, yeah, that's 100%. And like my experience, like doing something similar to that, it's I was working on a Ionic app because I wanted to just use something like that I know, which is React, and create like some sort of like mobile version of this application. And I kind of shared it, and I was doing it with GraphQL, and I shared it on Twitter, and somebody else reached out to me like, hey Paul, like I actually did this exact same thing that you're trying to build right now, you know, last year. So like the tech I think was updated, but you could check out my example and kind of see what I did. And it was like super helpful. Not only did I connect with that person who you know, now knows who I am, we also brought value to each other. And you know, and he said like, hey, when you finish your app, definitely reach out to me. I'd love to take a look at the updates you made. And so it's kind of awesome to have conversations like that, because they're productive, they're useful, and you're building connections with people who may eventually open doors into positions. Like, because I'm still a big believer, 90%.
Or you're setting yourself up to be in a position where you can open that door for them.
Yeah, right. Yes, that is actually a very important reminder from Mark. It's like, this is something that like is innate to me, because of like I've did in a service industry. Like when I used to have my own martial arts school, it's all about like the other person. And so it's important when you're doing stuff like this is that you're bringing value to both sides, and you're actually taking into the consideration, you know, like everything that, like that it's not just about you. And for instance, like I remember like when I met you, Mark, like I didn't say like, Mark, do this for me or do that for me. I just said like, hey, check out Mark's channel. He does a lot of cool stuff. Do this, do this. Like I just wanted to provide value up front. And I think that makes it easier for people to connect. Like you and I connected. And then I took your one-on-ones, which by the way, Mark does excellent one-on-ones for anybody that's interested in learning to code. And since I already brought it up, like, can you talk about it? Like, what are you doing right now for your community? What you've been kind of working on?
Well, I got two things going on. One, I've learned something. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I should have learned this much earlier. For some reason, I didn't. Actually, that's the case a lot with stubborn people. You got to ask for favors a lot. But if you're not giving out more favors than you're asking for, then you're doing it wrong. And being a stubborn person, I've spent much of my life just trying to do everything myself, break all the barriers myself, figure out all the things myself, research all the things myself. When what I should have been doing was asking for as many favors as possible from the people around me, but remembering that if I'm not providing more favors for them than they're providing for me, then I'm doing it wrong. Right. And the second thing is I'm really interested in filmmaking now, because I've decided that apparently my videos suck, even though the technical information inside of them is outstanding, because I'm a 10x programmer and I've been doing this shit for 25 years. The presentation sucks. And if you think about it, programming tutorial videos on YouTube mostly just fucking suck. And I was trying to figure out why that is. And I got into this rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole ended up in filmmaking, which is a rabbit hole of its own. And so now I'm well, you've heard of my old titles, like you've seen my channel. What do you think about these titles? I learned to code while I was homeless. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, no,
I got fired, which is always a good one, because all of us, even the best of us, have been fired. How about an illegal alien programmer? Right? So I'm going towards more story-driven content, where I'm still going to do tutorials on my YouTube channel. The tutorials are like, look, this is how an expert coder does this thing, so that you can build your own library of screencasts of how to do this and this and this with Next.js, you know, React, Tailwind, all that good stuff. But also have these other story-driven things, because I've lived a crazy fucking life. Have these story things, these story-driven elements that use elements of filmmaking to bring in more people to the channel, bring more people into Twitter, bring more people into Discord, so that then I'll try my best to make good, entertaining tutorials on coding, but let's face it, it's dry content. But I hope that filmmaking process will regurgitate back into my tutorial style videos and make them better as well.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think it's knowing your goal and like why do you have social media is very important. And so if you are looking to grow on YouTube, the things that you just mentioned, 1000% like you have to do, because you won't be able to compete with anybody else if you don't. But like for me, my goal is to use this platform as like public speaking, to improve at live coding, and to make sure that the
You're
content
a much better speaker now than when I met you like a couple of years ago, or maybe just a little over a year ago.
Yeah, seriously, like that, it helps. Like learn in public. It's a great example. Go check out some of my older videos. Like when I started this channel, by the way, I did not have, so sorry, I'm laughing. Alvin was like, how to be a software developer with no hair for a title. Dude, you make it look good. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough look, You could, I would never fight anybody who has a shaved head, by the way. Like, it's just like a thing. But like, what I was saying is that...
Well, you can't grab their fucking hair as a last resort.
Yeah, they're really good
at... their heads and your hair slamming you into a wall.
Yeah, and they're really good at headbutts, for sure. So what I was saying is that you need to have a goal for your channel and your social media and like why you're doing it. So for me, the purpose, like you were saying, thank you, by the way, telling me that my speaking got better. I really appreciate it, because that was the goal, is to get better at speaking and get better presenting technical information publicly, and also get comfortable coding live when things break, and then being like, oh, I might not know the answer, like, so let's engage together, let's build it together, and let's figure this out, and being okay with that feeling. Because like part of my job, when someone finds my channel or finds me on LinkedIn, I want them to see that I'm able to speak well. I want them to see that I'm able to code. I want them to see that I'm able to actually explain what I'm coding, hopefully as clearly as I can, because I am basically, that's my resume for the type of jobs that I'm applying. And so you have to kind of know, like, do you want to have like a YouTube channel? Then you do the YouTube things. If you want to like make yourself be seen a certain way, because this is certain types of jobs or things that you want to do, this is kind of what you have to do. But at the end of the day, if Mark didn't have a YouTube channel, I didn't have a YouTube channel, or we didn't have this concept of publicly showcasing what we're doing and building that network, we probably not get as far as we did, especially in my case. I know, Mark, you've done this for a long time, so now like you have all that experience, but someone starting out...
But even when I first started, it was like when the web just started, and there was like GeoCities and Angel Fire, and every web page had like a rainbow colorful background and shit marching across the screen. But there was no books on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? Because it was brand new. But what there was all these silly GeoCities and Angel Fire sites with other programmers who are also figuring this shit out. And we were essentially blogging. It wasn't really blogging at the time, because it wasn't like there was an ordered set of posts with dates, but it was just like somebody goes in and edits the HTML file, right, and adds stuff that they learned. So we were even sort of doing it at the very beginning as far as public coding, in the sense that we would post our code on our websites, and then other people could learn how to make their websites horrible with marching text and colorful backgrounds.
Yeah. So I want to kind of say this idea, if you're like embarrassed, like you're like, oh, people gonna judge me, like whatever.
They will. That's what makes you better.
Yes. And so, I'm redoing my Coding After 30 blog, because I finally decided to give up on WordPress, which is funny, because like if you need a simple website, you can't go wrong with WordPress. Like, it's so easy, anybody could do it. But at the same time,
hold on. I got to caveat that's not true. If you're a programmer, then you need to be eating your own dog food, which means WordPress is actually a detriment to you, unless you're making money from clients building WordPress sites. Right. Then you should be using WordPress. Otherwise, you should be using your tools, your trade, Markdown, JavaScript, whatever it is. Yeah,
100%. And so let's see, so this is me walking the walk. So I decided to literally transform my blog to use Next.js and the technologies that I work for. And the best way to do it, like I was like, you know what, let me create like a blog where I could share some of the articles. This is, I I still have to write more articles, but it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be super complicated. And so, look, I don't care. People are going to judge me, whatever. It's fine. Like, but I'm putting my work out there. I'm building. And if anybody's interested, this is built with Next.js, hosted on Bluehost. I'm using Cloudinary for image providers. And of course, I'm hosting my Next.js on Vercel. But what I'm saying is that, you know, no excuses for anybody. People just have to jump into it and start building, start working, because this is how you get better. And what are your thoughts? Like, I know you have your own personal blog, so you could post articles.
I don't actually put much there anymore unless it's something that I want to get registered by Google.
Okay, gotcha.
If I have a video that I want to be searchable by Google, then I will put a blog post up. But that might change because my process of making stuff is reverted to more of a filmmaker style. So there's a storyboard and a script. And since there's a script, it kind of makes sense just to make everything in Markdown first.
Yeah.
Use that to essentially record my video. And then the YouTube transcript wouldn't be too far off from the transcript that I already have in Markdown. And since it's already in Markdown, making it a blog post is easy. So it might be in the future that every video has a blog post.
Yeah, no, I think like it's good. And what are your favorite?
For you, though, you're doing exactly what I was just saying. You're eating the dog food, right? You're still working with Strappy, right?
Yeah, still working at Strappy. Most amazing company ever.
You using GraphQL and Strappy's API as your back end while still using Next and React. That's exactly what you're doing. Exactly.
And that was like the point I was making why I left WordPress, because even though it was easier, I'm at a point in my career that like now I'm able to build the thing that I need. And by the way, like I remember you were talking about Tailwind like a while ago. Before, I was still stuck in Bootstrap, and I gotta say, over time, I was like, God damn it, Tailwind got me. They got me. And it's, by the way, way easier like with Tailwind to do stuff, especially like, you know, you want to save time. You don't want to spend like forever doing stuff. You could even like get like a nice template that will make your thing look phenomenal, actually. Which is funny. You saw my personal project, right? Like I'm not putting like, I'm not looking on the CSS too much. I just want the functionality to be there. But I just want to show you the power of Tailwind. Like when
there's also two types of CSS. There's CSS that is just for layout, which is really functionality. And then there's pixel pushing, color playing, font fucking, just stupid, wasteful time stuff. That really matters if you're a designer and you want an exact look. But if you're a programmer and you're not a designer, you're better off getting font pairings from a designer and getting like pixel sizes from a designer, and then you can use a template. And like you're saying with Tailwind, if you're using, it doesn't matter if you're using HTML or if you're using JavaScript or if you're using React. Like it's so much more shareable than Bootstrap, because in Bootstrap, the common thing was, yes, there's a couple of utility classes, but we want you to make your own classes too. And so now all of your classes are different than all of my classes in the markup, and we can't share templates at all.
You can't,
And with Tailwind, because they say, look, the last resort is to make your own class. Do it all with the utility classes. And then literally, like, I could just hand you a block of JSX code, and you can stick it in your code, and it just, boom, styled and working, and you're like, wow.
Yeah,
so,
and here's
I love
like,
Tailwind.
Yeah, it's awesome. Here's another example of, like, just a simple, like, template, like where it just looks good, like for the most, it's clean, it's nice, and it looks. And so for me, like I don't have to worry about like designing stuff, especially if you're more of a focusing on development.
Design is something that takes years to learn.
For sure.
So if you're trying to learn programming, like you're going to be half as good of a programmer in 3 years and half as good as a designer in 3 years if you try to learn both.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. So you should know CSS. You should know like how to look things up if you don't know what they are.
That's
but then
still a programmer job, by the way.
Designer
is the one who decides the fonts and the spacing.
But you still have to implement it.
And the colors. Your job is implementing it. So really, CSS is like the bridge language between you and the designer.
Yes. 100%. And then I know we were talking, like, are you still doing one-on-ones? Like you were saying you were busy, you doing like a bunch of things. You got into the movie making to improve your...
No, I'm still doing one-on-ones.
Nice.
I have two guiding philosophies. One is that if you are just an educator, if you're just a teacher, like you're worthless to anybody because you're not in the real world where the shit's actually happening. So all the things that you're telling people could be completely wrong, and you have no scientific way of validating and verifying what you're doing and what you're teaching. So the other one is that you have to be involved in consultancy.
Yep.
And I just finished up 2 large projects doing consultancy, which is really what pays for me to be able to do the development school, because I make way less when I'm teaching, but the teaching is more rewarding, and the teaching actually advises my consulting work, and my consulting work reverse advises my teaching work. So it's a very, very nice cycle to have both of them it'd be like an economics college professor who's also a stockbroker and maybe the CFO of a company or something. It's that sort of loop back. And yeah, I have lots of room for doing sessions, and I like doing mentorship sessions probably more than anything else, because companies don't really care about elegance. They like the elegance because it's like speed and money to them, but they don't actually care for the art form of elegance in code. And their eyes don't light up when you teach them something new in the way that a developer does. And also, they're a company, and if you're a developer, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, what God you pray to, or if you don't, or what color your hair and eyes are, who you like to marry or have sex with. Like, to us, if you fuck with code, you're part of the tribe. And we don't really care about all that other stuff. So anytime I'm with another programmer, even if it's like just their first day of programming, they're still another programmer. They're still a member of my tribe. It's always more enjoyable than working for a company.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say about that, it's true, but there are certain like kind of, norms in programming. Like, it's like, what would like a typical programmer look like? And I would say, like, you and I, we might not
changed so much though in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and we might not be the traditional way.
In the first 20 years of my life, and I worked all in the US for, say, the first 15 of those. Say the first 15 when I worked in the US. I only ever knew one Black or African American programmer. He was a C++ programmer and was deadly serious about his business. And the rest of us white boys and Mexican, I'm a Hispanic myself, but you can't tell probably, we were just like JavaScript programmers and web programmers. We did like ASP and like the joke languages to a C++ programmer, right? And then I never saw another guy. I saw tons of women of all, mostly Chinese, but also Americans, all shapes and sizes, right? But in the males, it was literally the white boys club.
Yeah.
Until like 10 years ago, and it's changed radically in the right direction, which is like who comes into my school that they have jobs working in the industry, right?
Yeah.
They're new at it or they're mid-level at it, but they have jobs working in the industry. There's more than the share of the white boys, but there's also probably at least 40% women and every color that you can think of. And I don't ask people's religion or gender preference or any of that stuff, but my guess is that it's varied. So in the last 10 years, it's really changed. I think that the thing that brings us all together is that we're nerds. Like, it could be nerd and be any color, race, creed, religion, like whatever. It just means that you can't stop taking things apart that people give you to see how they work inside. And when you see that there's a problem and no one wants to fix it, you're like, I gotta fix that thing. It's out of place. Like, those are the people that make programmers.
Yeah.
And if you look at a programmer culture, it's much less about being, like a white boy like it used to be. It really did used to be like that. It's much more now like, oh yeah, you're one of those weirdos that likes to solve problems. Me too.
Yeah,
which
100%.
Is cool because this world needs problem solvers,
and we need more diversity for sure. Like, and get past like the whatever.
But diversity,
judgment.
Where we're not trying to select anything. What we're saying is, if this is the kind of activity you enjoy, programming, if this is the kind of activity that you have an aptitude for, programming, and this is something that like it makes your life happy, programming, then you're in. That's all that matters. And the diversity happens because you're not selecting out anybody else. You're not saying, well, we want people that solve problems, but you can't be green.
Right. Well, the thing is, though, I'm going to say there is a thing like there's still like people still are judgmental, and maybe they might not do it in public.
People?
But I feel.
Hold on. Who people? What people? It's too general.
Yeah,
in your personal experience.
Yeah, my personal experience when applying to certain jobs, there is some sort of judgment that happens. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but people do look.
What kind of judgment?
Like, you're too old. You know what I mean? Like, that one I get all the time, which is weird to me because I should be judged on the merit of my skill.
And I'm really old. I'm older than you by about 10
but you've been in the career for a while. So, like, for you, you're fine. But, like, starting out, brand new,
so that was programming after 30. The concept of, like,
hey,
you've lived a life and now you're becoming you're not becoming a programmer, bro. You are a programmer.
Now,
by now, you should have X amount of experience, right?
So now it's not an issue. But when I was starting out, Jesus, like, the struggle was real.
How did you overcome that?
Oh, being public.
Not an issue anymore now. Then
right. So here's the thing that I was going to say. It's like, learn in public, write blogs, like the YouTube channel helped because, like, even like with my small subscriber, like, people look at me like weirdly as an authority in like the space, and then they also see the work, the code that I write. They see how they speak. So like, it is kind of like part of my like resume. And I remember like there were some articles that I wrote before that when I was applying to the job, they actually brought them up, and I was like, oh wow, you found those articles that I wrote that were like describing like a technical thing in code. And so all that kind of gave me that. Hey, this is what Paul's done. We could see his work. And so that gave me like the proof over the age, basically. And they're like, hey, he knows what he's doing. This is what we want. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you are afraid that...
But if you were anything else and you were the same exact person with the same level of experience, they would have told you no, and they would have just said something else. They wouldn't have said you're too old.
Yes,
they would have just said 100%. You're too ugly. They would have
100%.
said,
they would not say the actual thing. Yeah, it's 100%.
So
they
really what it was it wasn't discrimination. It was the fact that you had to get to a place to where you could actually have some skills and have the ability to sell yourself with those skills.
I would say they couldn't just sell yourself 100%. Yeah. So great point, and I do want to get there. So this is like the
so whole, that's how you overcame it.
Right. And that's what I was
built a body
getting
of work.
At. Yeah.
And you got better at presenting yourself and that body of work when you were live with the person.
Yeah, so that was like the point that I was making, is that all those things are issues until you become an authority in your space. And the way to do that is publicly presenting what you're doing and growing like on this, in public, because people now see me like make the progress. And that was actually what I was saying, is that now, after doing all these things, being very public about my learning, building that network, building those connections, now all those things that I used to be afraid of, like he's too old, he's just starting out, like they're not an issue anymore, because I built my perception, and now it's like reality of expertise through being publicly available. So here's the thing, like, you could be really good, but if no one knows that you exist, you're not going to be getting those job offers. Or like, definitely.
Your learning curve, Paul, was like this. It went like this.
Yeah.
Right. It's an exponential curve.
I'll tell you why that happened.
When you were here, of course they were like, you're too old.
Yeah.
But
yes,
you're here. But here's the thing. If you didn't make all that publicly, you're absolutely right. Nobody would be able to see this curve.
Yes,
but because
1000%.
You've been public since way back here when you weren't competent and you weren't confident and, whatever, like this Paul was not ready for getting paid to be a programmer. You
1000%
documented
true.
it from here to here. So now it's easy.
Yes, and I do want to show something, because this is kind of like I'll bring it up in a second. It's kind of interesting.
Can I need to actually jump off this call before I leave. I just wanted to tell you, Paul.
Yes.
You can give it out however you want. It's completely up to you. But I want to teach one of your viewers the JavaScript, React, Next, Mongo, Tailwind stack. I'm not going to charge. And we're going to put those videos of me teaching that person and having that person code live. I don't care what level of experience they are, as long as they're like less than like a competent mid-level developer. and we're going to put those videos up publicly on YouTube. And they're not going to have to pay $80 an hour for the session.
Damn, this is what I'm going to say right now. Hold on a second before you go. That's cold, man. I would want to be that guy on those videos, but no, I appreciate you trying.
But I have something for you, Paul.
Hold on. Let me just say this. But I appreciate the fact that you're thinking about the viewers first instead of me being, you know, oh, everything about me. So yeah, that's awesome. So what I'll do is I'll do like some sort of thing to get a winner to do that, and I'll get back to you on that. Send me all the links. That's awesome.
Okay. And number 2 for you, Paul, 2 times a week, Tuesday and Thursday, I teach free now because my goal is to get enough YouTube subscribers that I have enough views per month that YouTube can pay for my teaching people, so that the students don't have to pay for me teaching them, and to pay it forward 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday, I teach for 2 hours for free for anybody who wants to join. So you could join those with us. And if you just go to DevMentor.live/calendar, you'll see exactly what days and times those are. And you'll see a beautiful little React component with sound and, you know, keyboard navigation and all that cool shit.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. DevMentor.live, and I'll throw the link.
/calendar.
Yeah, I'll throw the link in here first in a second. Yeah, that'll be super awesome. So DevMentor.live/calendar, correct?
Yep. You got it.
I just don't know how to spell calendar. So hold on a second.
CALENDAR.
Yeah, something like that.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm about.
To be honest, I'm surprised I was able to spit those letters out in that order.
So we have.
I gotta go though.
Yeah, no, thanks for jumping in, and I'll chat with you later. And I only have Discord.
Great to see you back, Paul.
Because of thank you so much. Back. I love having you.
Welcome to being able to monetize the fact that like you got work, like you're working with Strappy and you're doing your YouTube. That's another big step. So even though you had a setback, you've had a bunch of positive leap forwards as well. So welcome back.
Yeah, and thank you so much. By the way, I want to say, remember that super hot conversation we had, why people should start with Next.js first and instead of React, create React app? That was really, really fun. But I'm going to say, I think people should learn React, the basics, but Next.js for 1,000%. That's where it's at for right now. So it's all good.
Alrighty, man. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, I'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye. Wow, that was awesome. Like I always love having Mark around. Like just such a cool person. And what I like about Mark is like this is something I didn't able to get to anywhere. Like so many people, when they try to learn to code, right, they think that they won't be able to do it because they think like, no, only these type of individuals get these programming jobs. Like I have to fit into a certain mold. And I think that's awesome because there's so many great examples of people that been working as developer. I mean, he's been working as a programmer for over 25 years, and it's kind of cool to see these like different types of people that could jump in and do these things. So it is open to everybody. And like I said, this idea of learning in public, being able to, and I'll share the link that he was talking about in a second, being able to share what you're learning, engaging with other people to build in public and to share what you're doing, that will open up doors. It has for me. There's other people that I know that been in similar thing, and like I know Brian is here. I listening. I know there's Engine Boys here, and I love the fact that like just from those two people that I mentioned, like and the many of you too here, is that I see them interacting on Twitter. I see them going to sharing the things that they're building. And what I want to actually start doing, I know like I invited a bunch of you, I might have like double booked myself next Saturday, which is perfectly fine, but I want to start inviting you, the viewers, to come on and share what you're building, build your projects, talk about the code, and do like a mini talk about what you learn, what you're doing. And so definitely come by next episode because we're going to have a few people on to share their projects, which is going to be awesome. And then let's take a look at the comments now. I have not been doing myself justice by staying hidden. Good talk. Yeah, 100%. like, this is so crazy. And it's just the reality. It's like, you know how Mark was saying, like, because I told him how I'm not a big fan of Twitter because of so, like the crazy stuff people do on it, but you have to play to the algorithm. And it's like similar to this idea, like if you want to open up more doors, and maybe it's not something you're comfortable with, like you still have to make yourself publicly available, get involved with the community, and get out there, because it has done wonders for me. And literally, like 4 years ago, I'm some dude who started this channel, and I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And I could show you like also why you shouldn't hesitate and start doing things now, and you should build things now and share those things now. And I'll tell the story that I've done before. And Arthur, I just want to say hello. He says, hey, Lord Paul, how are you? Can't stop for too long. I'm in the park with the children or child. Yes, dude, it's amazing spending time with kids. Fantastic, but thanks for stopping by. And here's the one thing that I want to share here. Like, I want to show you my GitHub here. And the reason why I want to show you is this idea, like, set yourself to commitment, sharing what you're building, getting to it in public, by the way. But look, first of all, like, I've had GitHub, you know, so like basically get past the excuses and start building things, start sharing them. I had GitHub since 2013. Look, it's anemic. Nothing's happening here. Like, I could have been making progress if I knew this ahead of time, like from 2013, but I didn't take it seriously. You know, I didn't do anything. And so I was like, you know, I mean, I tried to learn to code, but I kept saying, like, you know, like someday, other day. And then I had, like, let's look at 2014, like really exciting, right? Nothing but crickets here. Nobody's here. You know, you go to 2017, maybe like few commits, like what the hell did I do here? Worked on something, 3 contributions in 2017. Then we hit to 2018. I'm starting to be like, hey, listen, let me put this intention out there. Let me code as much as I can and actually work on more things. And then 2019, it was like, wow, like you're really doing stuff, you're putting stuff out there, you're learning things. And so we get to 2020, 2021, and so on. And you could see the activity ramps up. And what I'm saying to you and everyone here is that the only way to get better at programming is to program. And the fastest way to learn programming is to be involved in communities where you could ask questions, where you could participate in the conversation. And one of the best places is to look at open source projects because you're able to see the code. So in Strappy, we have our Strappy Discord community. I'll throw an invite for anyone who wants to join. It's pretty awesome because you could ask, especially if you're building projects with Strappy. But I'm not saying like you have to even join that community. What I'm saying is that you need to be part of a community where you could openly engage in conversation about things that you're building. It is super important to actively invite. So I'll tell you about the steps that I recommend if you're a beginner. Yeah, so the stream continues at this time. Yes, you're going to keep going for a little bit longer. But normally I stream from like 11 to like 12, 12:30, depending on what we talked about. And so let me share the Discord for Strappy community. And I just want to show you a couple of things here in a second. And I realized, like, what am I screen sharing? But what I'm saying is that getting engaged with the community by building in public, and I'll give you the steps that you can take right now to get started, because I think it's like very important to get out there as soon as possible. So the first step is everybody, when you're coding something and you run into a problem, and something that I do, actually, let me bring it up here to show you an example of it. Like I have, like it's fine, I'm using my streaming computer, so I don't remember the notes that I have here. But let's see if I have any good, yeah, so here it is. So I'll show you like example. So what I do whenever I run into something or I learn something or I'm trying to kind of make sense of what I'm doing, the first thing that I do, so here's my step, I'll describe my step process here quickly. The first thing that I do, whenever something I make or do, I use this tool called Obsidian.
because, let me close this window here, because it allows me to write stuff via Markdown, and then I could save it on GitHub. So like I took some notes here, like, right, very simple, like, you know, how to create a React Fetch data hook, some examples, how to add caching to it, and I referenced the article that I use, and so this is something that I learned, and because I already wrote it on Markdown, I have these examples, like it's much easier to take this example or to create it into like a mini post. And what I would say, like if you're starting out, don't think about epic blogs, something that might take someone 2 to 5 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to read, something simple, be like, hey, I was trying to make a React Fetch hook using this thing. You know, here's an article that I found out, which was like really helpful, which kind of helped me out a lot. Here's the code example. This is how I implemented it in my code, and then go on Twitter and share that and tag like, oh, I'm building my project with React, tag React, you know what I mean? And so the idea is, first of all, whenever you do something cool, like take a note, like here's another one. I was like, how do you handle like scroll events? You know, like how do you set up a listener to listen for those, like using JavaScript with your React, you know what I mean? And so here's another example. So anytime you learn something cool, don't be shy, make a mini blog post, share it on like dev.to or your own personal blog. There's no shortage of blogs. And then share it on Twitter, LinkedIn, and tag the company whose stack you're using and be like, hey, this is what I learned, this is what I built, and then you'll start a conversation around it. People will be like, oh, this is kind of cool, like this is really nice. Like I want to show you another example of getting involved. So we have Strappy forum. I would have to log in. And I'm using Strappy forum. It doesn't have to be Strappy, right? Like it could be any other place. There's many other companies that have a forum that you could participate and talk about what you learned publicly. There's another cool thing Strappy does, but I know other companies do that as well, called like Write from the Community. But like for instance, so I had like an issue that I was trying to figure out, and so like you could engage with people in conversation and ask comments, and so I was like, wow, this is very helpful, like what have you, really helped me a lot. And what I did, I also was able to you know, provide answers. I'll show you another example here. YouTube using slug versus ID Strappy. I'll just kind of show you how this learn in public like sometimes works. And so there's a video here how to replace IDs using a slug, and somebody says like, unfortunately, by doing this customization, blah blah, because they used a simple example, so they couldn't cover every use case. And then I was like, oh, so this is like something people need questions asked. So, you know, you could basically answer this question and post a reply here. And so if I go back to where I was, I'm kind of on the fly looking for stuff. Like on the forum, I think I have to log in as somebody else. This is my Coding After 30, but I have a different account. Let me log in to... I just want to, oh man, is this going to be easy for me to log in, or is it going to be difficult? Okay, so here's like the example that I want to show you here. And so that question that I showed you, I went ahead and I created my own post, right? And this is what I'm saying, learn in public. I saw someone was having an issue on YouTube. It could be on Twitter. I went ahead and I played around with the code, and I kind of solved the example, I solved the issue, and I shared with the community like my implementation of like what I did and how I did it. And people are like, hey, great job, you're my hero, whatever. It doesn't matter like what people say. The point is that you publicly engage in conversation around coding, and you work on sharing what you're doing. And so that's one example I was going to show you. Another thing that I want to show, like there's many companies, they have this concept of write for the community. Strappy has one. So if you already build a project, and I'm using Strappy as an example. I'm not saying you have to use Strappy, but let's say you built something using Next.js and some sort of backend like technology, whatever, you could write an article and you could submit it to the company. A lot of them have like places where you could publicly post or submit articles. And in Strappy, we actually have a paid version of that as well called Write for the Community, where you could register for the program. Not only can you get paid writing articles, but you get that recognition, and you could also be like, when people say like, well, what experience do you have? And you could be like, hey, I published a bunch of technical articles. And of course, you start slow, but that will help you build your reputation. That's going to help you to start being found on Google when people search your name and search you. And so this is kind of like what I'm saying is getting involved in the community. And by the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, don't smash the like button for me. Smash it for everybody in the chat today. You guys and girls are awesome. Love to have you here. And so you could submit articles, and we actually have our GitHub, you know, that you could go to and see like some of the things that people are submitting, like like Strappy, GitHub. I'm not using my work computer, so none of these things are like saved in terms of like, what's the easiest way to navigate here? Strappy, GitHub. And so we're here. Let me go here. And we have our Write for Community tab, community content, and here the issues is we literally have topics looking for authors. Like, so you could actually go here, find a topic that interests you, and or maybe you build something where you learn something, and in this case using Strappy, but it doesn't have to be like, there's other places that do similar things, and you could write your thing about it and you could share it, you know, on a blog. Another thing that I've done, I think on dev.to, and I'm just kind of showing you a bunch of examples to be like, you know, I can't type and talk, but look, like I wrote an article here, how to get started with plugin development for Strappy, and here's an article, and then this is something I shared on Twitter, I shared on you know, my LinkedIn. So, and I have to write more articles here. I also have my own website where I'm doing this stuff, but I also created a video series and stuff like this. And so this is what I'm saying is this idea is like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be a super expert. Anybody could have an issue that they run into. And when you have that issue, you will work through it and you will figure out, and there's somebody else that might have that similar issue. And so post about publicly on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and you will have a conversation. People will they'll comment, they'll ask questions. There's another, like, actually, let me go to Twitter, like to show you like examples of how this works. And this is something that I've been really like seeing on Strappy. And what, like, one of the issues I have is that people are like, hey, James Q Quick is an amazing dude, by the way. At school, he's doing something. Amazing guy. But here on Twitter, let me see. I don't even know how to search Twitter. I'm like, only use Twitter at the most basic level. Obviously, I'm posting stuff here, posting relative articles. Oh, by the way, this thing is super awesome. I've been, as a hobby, trying to get into music, but let me just show you, see if I find it here. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. There, oh, my cat's being crazy. Hold on a second. There's something I shared. Let me see. One of my tweets, but basically, like, I can't find it now. Under pressure to find stuff. Let me see. Maybe it was at Strappy. Let's see here. I'll show an example. And obviously, like, I work for Strappy, but I also like a lot of the like stuff that we're doing, and I wanted to kind of showcase this idea of having conversations where you tag people. So. So like sharing, I'm like, hold on a second. I'm just so bad at finding stuff. But what people do is they'll literally will ask a question. They'll complain, like not complain about something, but they ask a question. Maybe like, I have issue with this. Now I'm curious, like I need to learn, I need to take a course on how to navigate and use Twitter. Maybe I'll go to notifications. That'll be the easiest way to find the example. Oh, here's a good example. I got to reply to this. Hello, Paul. I have a school project. I want to use Strappy. Talk about it a lot. The project is supposed to have admin normal. Cool. Like, and so see, here's like an example of talking about certain technology, using it, and then other people reaching out to you. So I'm going to get back to him later, but I want to show some other examples here of the same idea here. Let's see. Yeah, so like here's an example. So we had a conversation which started with a question, an issue that the person here. So here he posted something in the forum where he's like, I have an issue with this particular topic. So I'm just describing how I look at learn in public, build in public, help in public. And he had an issue. So this was like the start of our conversation. He said, hey, he posted a question. I said, hey, I saw a question that about a certain thing that you wanted. And while we look for a write for community author to create the article topic, by the way, if you're looking for someone to write how to use Strappy authentication with a simple React application. And I said, you know, while you wait, here's an example of my personal project that is not yet finished. And I created this post in the forum. So this was his question. And I showed him the links to the project. I showed him like the code example that I used. Oh my God, zoomed in too much. That I used to kind of help him to get started. And I showed my solution. You know, and I even had a relative video that I made about it. And so this is how we continue the conversation. And now, you know, I'm showcasing that I'm actively getting involved, helping people solve their problems. And this is what I'm saying. When you are learning to code, you need to build that experience. But how do you build experience when no one hires you? Well, you start getting involved in the conversation. You start going through the steps and you start sharing what you're doing. And the simplest way, and something that I would recommend for all of you, is everybody should, if you don't have your own blog, start a blog on dev.to or any one of those tech blogging platforms. Insert your favorite name there and start sharing 2 to 3 minute short articles where it's like, I had this problem, this is an issue I ran into, and this is how I solved it. And share it on LinkedIn, share it on Twitter, and when you share, tag the company that is related to. So for instance, in this case, I was answering a question where it was related to using Strappy. Then I tagged Strappy as the company. I could have even put React. I tagged React because it was both React and Strappy. And this is how you get that conversation to the broader community. And people will continue the conversation. They'll ask you questions. And by providing useful conversation, even if you don't know everything, it's a part of you being engaged. And this is part of you building that authority of being like, hey, this is the person that is constantly coding. This is the person that constantly looking to solve problems. He might or she might not have all the answers, but they're willing to engage, and people will notice and people will see it. The reason that I got the job that I have now at Strappy is because of this publicly building and learning and being available. And so for a lot of us who may be switching our careers or maybe don't have the proper college degree for the thing, or maybe if you do and like whatever, like you could never go wrong building in public and engaging with the community and getting it done. And so like I want to share, I shared the write for the community with Strappy. I think that was awesome. And there's other, it doesn't have to be Strappy. The only reason I'm using Strappy is because I just know this about Strappy because I work there, but there's other companies that do similar things. You could make guest posts, you could post in forums. And so engage with the community, engage, share it on LinkedIn, what you're doing. Like for instance, you know, I could go ahead and we share that forum article I wrote or the blog post that I wrote on LinkedIn and tag the appropriate people. And so let me look in the chat. If you have questions, let's do like a quick Q&A. Anything, you know, I'm open to any questions, nothing off the limit. And by the way, if you wonder, if you're new here, you're like, who's this dude on YouTube? I'm like some dude that started learning to code like way in my super late 30s, and there's no wrong time to start to code, but please understand it is a difficult process and there's a lot to do. So the older you are, you still have to play that catch up. It's just the reality of it, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. You might not do it in 3 months or even 6 months, but within a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's possible to do. And some people say, oh my God, to do something 2 to 3 years and to get a job, it's not worth it. What are you talking about? It's not worth it. Like it's either you do that or you don't. And if you don't, you're still going to be at the same place you were 3 years ago. But if you're starting to code, you're coding publicly, you're learning in public, 3 years from now, you got better as a developer, you got better explaining the things that you're doing. You got better at building and networking and getting involved in the community to get hired. It's super duper important, because if nobody knows you exist, how are you supposed to get hired? And this is why I'm all for like LinkedIn. I'm all for Twitter. And by the way, like Twitter, you have to kind of understand, there's a lot of tech Twitters that like I just don't care for and follow, because they constantly ask like stupid questions like coffee or ice cream for code fuel, or what's better, React or JavaScript or something, like stupid questions that they want engagement. I get it, because they want like people to follow them, because they want, I don't know if it's something to do like whatever, it's a strategy, not my strategy. Because to me, what I want to see is I want people to go on my Twitter, and I want people to look at it and be, is it relevant to a hiring manager looking for it for the type of stuff that I do in post? Like that's how I look at it. But at the same time, I like that. Thanks to Cyber Motechnic on Instagram. He can recover the files. Send him requests now if you want your like advertisement. Hey, that's awesome. By the way, like spamming here with like advertisement, I get it. But I will tell you, one time I lost a file on my computer, and I was like, oh God, Jesus, I deleted this important interview. And I literally had to Google how to recover files. They have software that you could get which does it for you, which was kind of nice. First of all, let me tell you this, Hagi Gishiku, I'm so sorry that I destroyed your name. I apologize. You're an athlete. You are exactly where I was. Let me just show you my LinkedIn. This is great questions. I hope you're still here. Listen, before I started coding, I was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA instructor. So like, let me do here, YouTube, BJJ and friends. I just want to show you this for you here. So I used to run a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school and run martial arts, and I even had a YouTube channel about it. So my full-time job before I switched to coding, oh, thank you. I am so bad. I apologize for that. But I used to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt instructor. I used to teach MMA, and that was my full-time job. Due to injuries, multiple concussions, oh my God, those suck, and knee surgery, exactly, low back. Bro, I wasn't a pro kickboxer, but I did Muay Thai. Amateur level is pretty awesome. Dude, same thing. And I made that like, so you're 30, so you're starting 6 years prior to eyesight. I really started focusing on coding when I was 36. So you're literally 6 years ahead of where I am. And if I could do it, you can do it for sure. And literally, I found a clone of myself. I don't know if we're clones, because I'm not in the same shape I used to be. But the point that I'm saying, and I don't think I shared my screen, I wanted to show you here. So I used to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. That was my career. I did it for like forever, like 10, like I've been involved in martial arts for like more than like 20 years, but teaching, 15 years, and 10 of it was teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. So we literally, listen, you're doing good. You're starting at the right path, and you can definitely do it. And talked about, I have nothing to put on LinkedIn, so let me share my LinkedIn with you so you could kind of show this example, because it'll be really, I can't spell LinkedIn. So let's go to LinkedIn. And I'll show you this by like example. And so when I first started out, I didn't know what to post either. By the way, like very important when you're working on LinkedIn or like engaging publicly, like you need to set up your LinkedIn. And what I would say for you is to set up a LinkedIn, and don't put an inspiring developer, but put the thing that you want to be. Put like software developer, put the things that you're learning here. That's perfectly fine. You could set up your thing. You definitely have to eventually work on the resume. But I just want to show you here my experience. So I was a co-founder and a 50% partner at Super Kids Karate and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and MMA school. And I did that for running my business for over 9 years. And then I worked for somebody else. Then I worked as a sales associate at Hartford selling insurance. That lasted all 8 months because it wasn't for me. And then I got an internship just so I could have something to put on my resume. Then my friend and I, we started a freelancing company. Well, it was his company. I started working for it. Even though we didn't have that many clients, I did use it for my kind of experience. And then eventually, this is my other job where I worked at marketing and teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for Gracie Sports in Connecticut after I decided to close down my school because it's just too much involvement. Then I got a front-end developer job at Point Marketing, and this took a long time to do, right? So don't worry about that. It's going to take time. Just know that you will start where you will have something that's completely relevant to what you're doing, and then over time, you're going to transition to the things. And you could check out some of my other videos. I'll also... and if you have any questions, I'll share my email here. You could contact me, coding after 30. But you're the perfect age to start, and you definitely will be able to get there and get a job. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, what I was going to say. And this idea is that you got to put in the work. And there's what I was going to say. There's no shortcuts. And this is like the whole point of doing this stream of learning publicly, is this idea and this concept of building your reputation where people can see you making progress. And after, like, your first job will be very difficult to get, like almost impossible. Your second job is going to be a little bit easier. Your third job is going to be like, oh, I think I finally made it. And so it took me time. It took me a long time. It took me like 4 years to get to where I am today, where I could go and feel fairly confident that I will be able to get another job. But it took time. It took time and work. But here's the thing that I was going to say. Doing it publicly, what you're basically doing is you only have one brain. But as soon as you start engaging publicly and talking to other people, now you have access to their brains. You're able to ask them questions. You're able to work with them, and you will learn faster through trial and error. And this is something that Mr. Beast did for his YouTube channel, which, like, I don't want to be Mr. Beast or have success that he does on YouTube. I really just want to be a programmer. But his thing was, like, he created a little network where there was other developers where all they did is talk about the issues that they were running into around, like, creating successful YouTube and how to solve them. So imagine having a programming mastermind group where you could ask these questions. It doesn't have to be like any particular community. You could ask other communities on Discord to join. I actually have a community that I'm going to get back into on Circle. And if you want to get involved in it, I do have a prerequisite. It's completely free. Circle community. Coding after 30, I guess. So I have this community, Coding After 30, and yes, I already started. The profile should be completed. Let's chat. So I have a community, and I will send you invites here. You could join for free. I'm going to be on it more, and there's other people on here. You could engage and have conversations about it. And yes, thanks, Tammy, for bringing out. There's a list of courses that you could get started with. And by the way, they should be in the description of the stream. Tammy, thank you for pointing it out. And to join this community, by the way, anybody could do it. It's free. One day I'll probably do like $1 or $3.99 a month as a thing, like, not even because like I'm going to be selling something, but it's like, hey, you want to give back to this channel and help me like pay for my camera that I want to buy next time, you could do it. But right now it's absolutely free, and I'm too lazy to make it paid. So if you want to join it, the prerequisite is super easy. You either need to have a portfolio project that you built, but even easier than that, coding after 30 at gmail.com. Gmail.com. You could send me an email, or you need to send me a link to your GitHub. So you have to have a GitHub account, even if it doesn't have, like, you like commit one thing, or if you're super brand new and you don't have a commit, just send me your GitHub so I know that you're actively trying to be part of Coding Daily, being involved in the community, and I will send you that invite to our Circle community that we have here. And I will add more resources. To be honest, I had some life stuff that happened, so I've been kind of out of it for a while, but we have certain things here, like we talked about, like tips about getting hired, like things that I did. And I might have like let's see here, a pinned post that kind of showcases like what I did to get hired initially, and I'll kind of show you here. Like the basics: get GitHub, set up a LinkedIn, get a portfolio site from the template. I have one at paulbraslovsky.com that I made, which is like your basic resume. I didn't build this from scratch. I used a template. And it's a great website to showcase your resume and to kind of show how people could get in touch with you. And I specifically did not put my portfolio projects here because you don't have to wait until you actually build projects to have something that you can build already and showcase and start, like sharing what you're doing. And I'm linked into my LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, my GitHub, and then once you have a portfolio you want to put here, you could create a section here and put here on here. And so, man, let me answer this. So, man, yes, I will. I'll email you. So, have my daily projects on my PC, but never post again. Yeah, start today. Post it on GitHub and share with me that link, or just email me if you need help, and I'll invite you to our community. Anybody who wants to join our community, just send me a link to Coding After 30, and I'm talking about our Circle community that we have, and it's absolutely free, but the one prerequisite, you either have to send me a link to your portfolio project that you already deployed or built or working on, or share me your GitHub. You at least have to have a GitHub. That's a prerequisite, because I want to know that you're serious about learning to code, you're serious about making this difference in your life, and you could be part of this community. But yeah, so definitely hit me up on that. And so to sum up, we had an amazing stream. We had Mark come in. You love him or hate him, he's an amazing guy, and he is an amazing developer, but always good to talk to him because it really showcases that the idea of who could be a developer, like it's completely shattered. Like anybody from most unlikeliest places could be a developer. And by the way, I wanted to give you kind of like ending thoughts, like ending tips. So if you were to do a takeaway, what should you do to start engaging in this idea of building or learning publicly? Number one, step one, make sure you have a GitHub, so you could have an easy way to share your project. Number two, it doesn't have to be your own personal blog, but go to places like dev.to or find other places that allow you to share blogs about coding, and just sign up and start posting 2 to 3 minute read articles, like something super simple. And I show you an example where I basically created like a simple post, and I'm going to share this again real quickly, but you write it into like an article format. I just kind of like where you answered somebody's question, or maybe like, hey, I had this problem using this, I couldn't figure this out, this is how I solved it. So your blog post could literally look something like this, and then share it to that website, share it to on your LinkedIn and your Twitter, and start engaging the conversation around. So I'm not going to give any additional tips because that is like the bare minimum. Get it going. Abby, just saying hi. Great to see you. Man, one last question. Do we have open IG Twitter for our journey? I'm so happy to see stream, blah, blah. Yeah, I would start like Twitter. I think if you kind of like don't like Twitter for like whatever reasons, at least start with LinkedIn. If it's in your area, like start with LinkedIn. But Twitter for having tech conversations is actually pretty important. And what I would say, I don't like social media. I really don't. I literally have 3 things. I have Instagram for my silly music that I make that I suck at. Instagram. Actually, I don't know why I'm sharing this. I have this Instagram with the worst name ever called Hot Turtle. That sounds like, why is it not popping up? Is it this one? Yeah, and this is basically, I share my stupid music journey of like some like the songs I do. So that's my hobby. No, I don't want to log in. Don't sign me up. I don't want to use it. But basically, I like Instagram for like silly stuff. And then I have Twitter, because Twitter is just a good place to have great discussions about what you're doing. And then the other social media that I use outside of YouTube is using LinkedIn. So what I would say, if you're starting out, I would start with having Instagram, LinkedIn, and set up some sort of blog. Don't create it yourself, like either on dev.to or any equivalent of those websites, so you could start engaging in the conversation. And so that's what I would do. And you could write simple articles, and if you feel like you're better at making videos, you can make videos and share them. But 100%, that's what you got to do. And so any other questions, anything, let's just have last 5 minutes of open discussion. I'm kind of going back here, see. And so yeah, here's I don't know if he's still here, but he says, I just don't think I would have solved the problem I was having last night with auth0 not accepting sockets events if I didn't take time to think by myself. I totally understand that, but you still also should share that knowledge with other people, because now the problem that you solved, and I know you were doing on YouTube, talking about what you're building, I think that's awesome. Definitely share it on social media via blog posts and stuff like that. Fantastic. Yeah, so Joshua, if you want to add comments to your blog post, you could use Disqus if you created your own blog post. But again, if you set up your post either blogging using WordPress, or I would go with a relative tech blog platform like dev.to or something like that. Start there, because it's a good way to build that reputation for sure. Let's see what other things. Yeah, let's open up for some questions and stuff like that before we end here. Raul says, great content, Paul, very motivational and informative. Well, I'm glad. I try my best. And I am literally some dude who started this journey not having a dev job, and now I work at my dream company, Strappy. And which is weird, if you follow my journey, I just loved using Strappy for my backend as a CMS to manage data, whatever. I just fell in love with it. I talked about it so much that Coding Addict, or John Smilga, by the way, check him out on Udemy. He has some of the best courses available that I love, and I took almost all of his courses. He's like, why don't you apply there? And so I did. That was fantastic. Nice. And so yeah, for sure, I will put and join today, and I will put my project on GitHub so that can show my comment. Yeah, that's fantastic. Keep it up. And anytime, listen, learning to code is not easy. It's very difficult. Don't believe the naysayers. It's really hard. It's a lot of work that you have to do. And the more people you involve in the community, the faster you learn. I only have one brain. But if I ask a question to somebody in my community, that's a second brain I'm borrowing to help me solve my issue. And so once you grow that network by failing quickly, and this is one of the reasons why don't wait to make stuff perfect. Fail quickly and iterate quickly. And so when I started working at Strappy, some of the videos that I produced this cool video series on plugin development, where I actually had to learn how to develop plugins first, and I wanted to be perfect, and I was really spending a lot of time trying to iron out all the kinks. But the issue is, done is better than perfect, because you could always reiterate, you could iterate on the process, and then each time you iterate, and the quicker you do it, the faster. So there was an interesting study that was done. It was quality versus quantity study. Let me see if I could find it. It's very interesting. That would be a cool thing. And by the way, add some questions if you want, or anything that you want to talk about or chat. But that was an interesting study. It was quantity versus quality work, which gets better results. What do you guys and girls think? And everybody in this. Let's see why. So I can't find the study right now. Maybe this article. So yeah, I was looking for the study. There was a study that's done, and I don't know why this dude is not referring to the study in his article, because it's not like he created this by himself. But anyway, quantity before quality, doing more is always the right choice. And I agree with that because it forces you to fail quickly, more often, and it will allow you to increase your rate of improvement and iteration. So quality versus quantity fallacy. Let's go here. Maybe he did share it. Cambridge Dictionary. I don't know whether that's not the link. Whatever. Why would he share like whatever? Oh, he's doing the definitions. So quality, blah, 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 blah. So he talks about quantity comes first, and he talks about, so anyway, this is not helpful in terms of like the study that I want to show for you, and I don't think he references it, which is not a good practice if you're writing an article and you want to reference a study. But anyway, here's the last thing before we go is this idea. If you increase your failure rate and you do it more often, you will get to success much faster because increased failure rate increases your opportunity to learn more and much quickly. And then if you add that community benefit to it, by getting involved, you literally triple and quadruple your output by actually failing more often and doing publicly. You're actually going to get feedback of the things that you need to improve, where by yourself you would just not get. And so with that being said, you are going to increase your rate of improvement much faster. And this is why I say it's quantity over quality, because the more you fail, the more you learn, the more you iterate, quality is going to improve. Like watch my first video and watch my recent videos where the way I speak, my ability to speak has improved because I just put massive amount of videos on YouTube. And it's the same thing with your coding. And then a question here, when did you say yourself you were ready for a job or internship? So what I would say, that's a whole topic for a video, which we should do. But I would say once you build like 2 to 3 portfolio projects, start applying. Because not even because you're going to get those jobs, but it's because it's going to this concept that I just talked about. Start applying, because applying to jobs and writing the resume and working with LinkedIn and Twitter to grow your network is a whole other skill that you need to develop, that outside of coding, 2 different things that you need to get hired. So as soon as you have some sort of projects, even if they're not the best, start applying, start going through the process, start failing. And every time you fail at an interview, like always say this, like, hey, I understand you decided not to go with me today, but do you mind asking what was the reason, so I could work on improving it so I could be more prepared for the next next interview. And it doesn't mean that they owe you to tell you the answer, but it's very important to ask because you need that feedback to continue. And that's what I would start doing. So anyway, I see that like not too many questions, and we've been going for 1 hour and a half, had an amazing stream. I hope you guys and girls had a great time. I did. And so we're going to do this for now every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And I think what I'm going to start also doing a community call either before or after the stream, which will be private via Zoom or Meets for our Circle community. And if you want to join our Circle community, all you have to do is email me at codingafter30@gmail.com and send me either a project that you worked on or your GitHub, and I will add you to our community that we have here. And I, in the process of setting this up, but the idea is and Francisco Jazz, thank you so much for joining us. Cheers for the community. Yes, I just appreciate all the love and everybody being here. Thank you so much. And then here's the courses that I use for sure. Yep. There's lots of, and by the way, I think I have like courses that, any course by John Smilga is amazing. So definitely like just check out my link or search on Udemy. And I lost and here's the community that you could join for absolutely free. All you have to do, email me at codingafter30. Luke, don't be sorry. I'm just glad that you literally made it for the Tailwind, but that's okay. Luke, I know you must be busy, but I'd love to have round 2 live stream session with you. So definitely hit me up when you have available. Love to kind of hear more about your journey. Luke, by the way, started in the community. He does more C# and ASP.NET stuff. But what's awesome about it, like he started his journey where he didn't have a job and he was looking to transition, and it was so amazing to see him get the job and start working. And this is like the point. Like this is why I think like you got to be part of the community, because there's so many good people here to kind of chat and ask questions. And we had an amazing live stream. You could search it on my channel. Luke demonstrated his awesome project, talked about his experience, and would definitely love to have round 2. And Northern Jip, thank you so much. So anyway, with that being said, I know I talked for an hour and a half, and the thing that I want to say here, we are going to have community live chats either before or after the YouTube live. So anybody that's a member of the community, we could kind of have a group discussion. What are you doing? What are you working? Where are you from? How can I help you? And I think I'm going to do that weekly, maybe bi-weekly. I still have to check. I think weekly or I'll still try to figure that out, but I definitely let you know what's up. And then DevMentor.live, he came on earlier today and gave me ability to give away one winner to be able to join his paid mentorship that he will do with you once a week, I believe, and he will post it live on YouTube. That's part of the charm, is that he's going to do a video and post it and share it. But if you want free coaching and you want to win that, I am going to keep you posted. I'm going to do a event on my YouTube channel. I'm going to do a poll, and everybody involved in that poll, whoever comments on it, will have a chance. I'm going to randomly pick somebody to be the winner. And with that being said, I'll be here every Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time at the time until see if that time, because I think this time works really good for everybody. And then maybe we'll do the live stream after. Maybe we'll see. I'm still thinking about it. But we'll do. But thank you so much for everybody who's here. If you didn't smash the like button, don't worry, you don't have to smash the like button, but I love all of you anyway. And thanks for joining me for this awesome Saturday. I hope that you have a great rest of the weekend. Wherever you are, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good night, and really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And this is what I say. This sounds corny and cheesy. Thank you for letting me be part of your community, because this is not my community. This is you. You are the bricks that lay the groundwork that makes this community possible. I just never want to forget that. So that's why I say that as much as I can. So thanks for joining us, and I will see everybody next time. And until then, take care. Au revoir. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, I guess. It works for everybody. And I'll see everyone later. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Norman Chips. Raul, thank you. Everybody who joined. Hage Shiku, thank you. So many people, such a good time. I feel good now. I could go and spend my weekend because I feel great. I feel amazing. This is awesome. And if you want to check out terrible music that I wrote and vote on it, why not? I'll share my Instagram here. You could check it out. I'm trying to get more into music. I actually have a SoundCloud that I started, but I didn't, I'll share that later. Anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll see everybody later. I'm so pumped now. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Take care.